Okay, we are live. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hello.
Dave here, and Brian is with us too. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm pretty good. It's Friday already here, so ramping up for the weekend
Yeah.
or ramping down from the week, one of the two.
Right.
Yeah. How's your week been so far?
It's been good. It's been hectic. I have two of my kids are moving for college tomorrow. So there's been a lot of packing and stuff like that going on. So it's been very hectic, but it's been good.
Mm, wow. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess the weekend's going to be a bit crazy as everyone's moving around, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, guys, we are going to take any questions that you have for us today. So, if you would do us a massive favor, if you've got any questions or comments that you want us to read, please put a big Q in front of your question or a big Q, even if it's a comment that you just want us to read, and we will get to that. And also, as you're coming in, please let us know where you're coming from. You coming in from? We've got Richard coming in from Copper Hill, Tennessee, and Tracy. How you doing? Irene, how you doing? My metamorphosis, how you doing? Okay. Tracy's coming in from Canada. Nice. Okay. And Jackson, Tennessee. Oh, a few Tennessee people. Okay. And wow, Levita's coming in from Niigata, Japan. Hello, neighbor. How you doing? Okay. And we've got in from Idaho, Live Life ET. We've got Brooke coming in from the Pacific Northwest. For some reason, whenever you say that, Brooke, where you got PNW, I always start to read that as Papua New Guinea. Coming from Australia and PNG being one of the closest countries to us, I always start going Papua New Guinea, Pacific Northwest. Okay. All right. Jane's in from Australia. Excellent. So, have you already? I guess you've already eaten today, Brian.
Yeah, I did. Um,
Yeah.
I ate, let's see, it was excuse me, it was probably around 2 p.m. Eastern today when I
Mm.
ate, and I had a nice ribeye, about a 16-ounce ribeye, cooked medium rare with Redmond's salt on it, real salt, and that was it. And
Nice.
that's all
Oh,
I've ate
nice.
today.
Wow. Just the ribeye.
Yeah, it's 7 p.m. Eastern here, so I don't know. When we're done, I might eat something small, but I haven't gotten to that point that I'm really hungry yet. So that might be it. And that happens sometimes for me.
Mm.
Sometimes when I eat ribeye, I just end up eating once a day. And then if I don't eat ribeye, if I'm eating something else, whether it's ground beef, eggs, bacon, something like that, then that's usually when I eat twice a day. So I don't
Mm.
know what the difference is with the ribeye. Maybe because the more animal fat in it, the content. I don't know, but that's how it's been for me.
Oh, nice. And how have your results been recently? Have you found things are pretty stable?
Um, excuse me. Yeah, it's there really hasn't been any additional weight loss. I've pretty much stayed the same from the last time we talked. I think that was what, about 2, 3 weeks ago.
Hmm.
But part of that could be because I went on vacation. I did a week at the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, and um, I wasn't exactly the cleanest, during that trip. I had a couple of days there where I had some carbs with my meal, and I did drink a little bit of alcohol on that trip. And the interesting thing is, I got sick. First time I've been sick in a long time, but I got sick. I had a sinus infection, and I'm pretty sure it's the histamine from the alcohol.
Ah, interesting.
So I didn't do as well that week, and I think I gained a little bit probably in water weight, and then it took me like a week to lose that back, so I'm kind of right around the same as I was before at this point.
Interesting. So, um, when you had those few carbohydrates, I'm really interested in this because I've had nothing for what is it, 14 months now.
Yeah.
And um, so I'm really interested to know when you have those carbohydrates, is there a sudden kind of change in feeling or like a sensation or some kind of, I don't know, reaction you feel going on emotionally or anything?
So, yeah, a little bit, and the interesting thing is most of the time when I've had some carbs, I've been like, "Oh, this tastes good," but then shortly after, I'm like, "Oh, I don't know about this. I'm not sure how I feel, like, my stomach maybe feels different or something," right?
Mm.
Sometimes, though, if it's something sweeter, I'll be like, "Oh, this really" right off the bat, I'll be like, "This tastes way too sweet," and I never used to think that. But that's usually how it goes, like, maybe half hour or so after I've eaten it, I'm like, why did I do that? Because something, I just don't feel the same. Um, and sometimes I even feel like I get like a little warm or something. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I feel
Mm.
like warmer than normal or something. And yeah. Um, the other thing is last weekend we went to a party and I did have a piece of cheesecake. And boy, was that a mistake. Like, first of all, I was like, I'm not gonna do this. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then I was so disappointed because it didn't even taste good. That's which is probably a good thing, but it didn't taste good. And then that whole evening, I felt like crap, to be honest. I just didn't feel well. And I would say really even when I went to bed, like, I just didn't feel right. Something just didn't seem right. By the time I woke up the next morning, I think it was through my system and I felt fine. But yeah, I really noticed it with that. Something just wasn't right. I just did not feel good from eating that.
Mm. Wow.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared to try, and I feel like I will probably have the same kind of thing. Like if I ever worked myself up to a point where I was going to try something, it would be like, oh, this is going to taste so good. This looks amazing, blah blah blah. And then probably
And
the
then it
second
doesn't.
you eat it, it's like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I still always remember when I spoke to Alia in our first interview, and Alia described it as mouth pleasure. I mean, literally, that's all you get, right? After that, it's just pain and bloating and
Right.
everything horrible after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just one housekeeping thing that I forgot to mention. Guys, we got 47 people watching live now, which is awesome. If you could do us a massive favor, whoever's channel you're watching us on right now, if you could smash the like button, that would be really good because what will happen is that'll tell YouTube that the stream's getting a little bit more popular and it will bring more people in to watch. It'll push the video or the stream out to more people. So that would be much appreciated, guys, and that'll be a better conversation for everyone. I think given we're running this on both channels, maybe we should do kind of a quick introduction to, familiarize people that may not have met either of us before, um, about our stories. So, Brian, did you want to share kind of when you started with Carnivore and how it's gone for you?
Sure. So I actually started with keto first last spring of 2022. I did that for about 2.5 months or so. And then in July of 2022, I started carnivore. So the keto, I didn't, I lost a little bit of weight, not very much, just a few pounds. And as I continued to look at things, I just thought more and more that it just made sense to go with no carbs. So I went to full carnivore at that point. So I've been doing it now for 13 months. Um, in that time period, I've lost 75 pounds. I did lose 60 pounds. So a majority of that was 60 pounds in probably the first, what I want to say, like 4 or 5 months or so. And then I had a little bit of a lull at Christmas time where I kind of was sabotaging myself here and there. And then I got into the new year in 2023 and I lost a few pounds again. So I got down to 75 pounds probably about a month or two ago, and it's been pretty consistent there. But one of the biggest things for me hasn't been the weight loss. It's been, um, I had arthritis, I had a lot of joint pain. If I walked a decent amount of time, I had to wear ankle braces because my ankles would swell up so bad. I um I would, if I worked out, I wore ankle braces, knee braces, wrist braces, whatever, because I would have problems. Within a couple months of doing carnivore, I no longer had to wear those braces anymore for anything. So I work out now and I don't have to wear any braces. I don't have any pain. My arthritis is gone. Another thing that I had is I had atrial fibrillation, AFib, and that's where your heart goes into these episodes where it will beat really fast and then go back to normal and then beat really fast and so forth. And that started in 2018. And pretty quickly onto carnivore, I got to the point that I did not have another episode. And it's been over a year now without any episodes. And I was at the point before carnivore that I could have a couple episodes a week. So that those have been pretty huge for me.
Oh, nice. Awesome. So from my side, it's been almost exactly 14 months now. I did start on keto, and I started on keto to control my sugar addiction and also get over my alcohol addiction. And that was all. It was all going okay, but I had a bit of issue with vegetables, or I didn't realize it was vegetables at the time. But I was having a little bathroom dependency issue, and so that led me into finding Ken Berry's videos, and then I got down the rabbit hole of all the other carnivore videos. But Ken Berry convinced me to give up vegetables for a while, and I've never looked back since then. You know, and in that time, I've lost 32 pounds. Haven't had a drink of alcohol. And arthritis is gone and a whole host of other things. And I no longer have a bald spot. Okay, that's a bonus. So yeah, that's me. So good to see everyone. And we have some questions while we've been chatting and talking about our history. We've got some questions coming through. So first question here is from Tracy. So question. I'm 68 years young, carnivore now for exactly 4 months. I've recently developed a boil. It's healing, but I've never had one before. Has anyone ever experienced this on carnivore? And have you? Okay, she's followed up here. Hang on. Recently developed a boil. It's healing nicely. I've never experienced this before. Have you heard of this on carnivore? I haven't heard of that kind of thing. Have you ever heard of any of that, Brian?
No, so I used to get them sometimes before carnivore, but I haven't really experienced that since. I used to get them in like my inner thighs because I was pretty overweight and they would, rub against each other and then that would develop. And I haven't had any issues with those since, but that also probably has to do with losing some weight as well. But yeah, I don't know.
So Kush Crusher is saying if you have a boil, then you probably have some kind of inflammation or something your body is fighting off. the for Tracy, I mean, I think the important thing is that you're saying it's healing nicely. Um, you know, the fact it's on the mend and it's looking good is probably a you know, is a positive sign, I would think. You know, the fact it's not lingering. So, yeah, I haven't got any experience with it, but if it was me, I'd be pretty satisfied that it's getting better. Um, so we've got a comment here. I'm pretty sure this comment is tongue in cheek from Real American Patriots. I'd love to do carnivore diet, but it's too expensive. Um, I think that one's tongue in cheek because he had one following that said he consumes 6,000 calories a day. So I'm guessing that's not from Mars bars, but yeah. And then Luman says inexpensive. So is there any other questions? Did I miss something? I thought I had more. Okay, maybe.
I see a recent one that just came in. I'm not sure if there's any
Is that
before
Code
that.
Web? Is that
Yeah,
Code
Code
Web?
Web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Code Web is asking, kindly, I would like to know that having more protein will throw us off ketosis. So how does a carnivore diet work in that regard? Okay. You want to take that, Brian? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I can try and take that, and
Okay.
this is going to be based on some videos that I have watched from doctors, so like Sean Baker, Anthony Chafee, and even Bart K, um, Professor Bart K. So what I've seen from what they've said is that it can take you out of ketosis for a very short time, but you go right back into it very quickly, so it's not a big concern. Um, that's the biggest extent I have for it because I don't really check myself to see if I'm in ketosis or anything. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you think there, Dave, but that's what I've seen from videos that I've watched.
Okay. I'm going to put my Bart K hat on for a second, and I'm just going to react the way I think Bart K would react to this question. And the way I think he would react to it is with another question. So he'd say, "Why do you want to be in ketosis?" Look, I'm always kind of handle this stuff or think about this stuff based on what I kind of end up doing intuitively or what I've experienced. And I would say one of the worst things to be thinking about when you're on this diet is being in ketosis. Like, because you can drive yourself crazy thinking about this all the time. Going back 20 odd years when I was doing Atkins for the first time, that was something that I was so excited about, right? Because you start Atkins and you start getting these results, and then you realize that you're getting even better results at the start. The smellier your breath is, and you know, the stronger the ketosis level is on those pee strips and all that kind of thing, you know. So you're getting all excited, right? And then it's like, you know, when you have when you get a few comments on one of your first YouTube videos and you're so excited, and then so you put out another video and you get nothing on that, right? It's you're going up and up and up, and then this next video comes out and then you just get deflated. And ketosis is a little bit like that. Like your body's going to decide what it's doing. And so, you know, you're testing in ketosis. Well, I got the breath. Yay. I'm going to be like 2 pounds down tomorrow morning when I weigh myself. I'm so excited. And then, you know, the next day, the bad breath's gone. You're not showing anything on the test strips and you feel deflated again. It's like, this is not working for me. I'm off this. So, anyway, this is my long way of saying I wouldn't worry about it, honestly, because you'll be in and out of it so much that I don't think it's something you should be paying attention to. I think you just eat the way that you feel most comfortable eating, you feel most satiated eating, of course, assuming that's sans carbs. And and you should be okay. Very long-winded way of answering that, but I hope that goes some way to, yeah, addressing that question. All right, so we have, oh, Chad's in the house. Okay. Brian, from the cheesecake tasting bad, do you feel you are learning and going to say no to a little easy, say no a little easier next time, or do you think it's hard to control?
Yeah, so definitely I think that knowing that it didn't taste good will make it a lot easier to say no the next time. For me, I'm the type of person that I really need to stay away from carbs completely. Like I know some people can, have something and they're perfectly fine after that. It doesn't affect them and they can just keep going back to what they're doing and they're fine. For me, if I eat a carb, I end up struggling with cravings and it can go on for a couple weeks. Um, I know I do best when I don't eat any carbs. I feel best when I don't eat any carbs, but there have been times that I've done it and then really struggle and over that next couple of weeks, every couple of days I might have a carb or something just because I'm back in that where I'm struggling, right? So I really need to get to a point that I stop doing that. And definitely, I think knowing that that didn't taste good, I think that's a good sign for me because in the past, when I've had something like going back a few months back, my daughter graduated from high school and I had a small piece of graduation cake. It tasted pretty good to me still. I did end up feeling bad after that, sometime after that, like hour later. But this time seemed different because it really didn't taste good. So I think that's a good sign, and I think that's going to help. And I've been doing carnivore now for just over a year, so I think as I go, I'm going to get more and more to that point that it's just not going to taste good, and I'm just going to stay away from it more. And hopefully, as time goes on, I'm not even going to get to that point that I'm going to have that carb. I'm just going to stay completely with no carb and be good. So, but it is a struggle for me. I'm just not that person that can just have something and then turn it off. I struggle with it.
Yeah, that resonates with me a lot. I'm also this similar type. I can't just go, oh, I'm just gonna have one little piece of that and that's it. I'm finished. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's it's all or nothing. Have one donut and wake up under a box of donuts, or an empty box of donuts. Wake up under the crumbs. Okay. So Bella has sent a super chat. Thank you so much, Bella. Maybe I missed it. What was the impetus for Wick to Go Carnivore? How long have you been eating this way? Love you, Dave. Missed you while I was out. Thank you, Bella. So, yeah, what was the impetus?
Yeah. So I didn't really go into that. So I was pretty overweight, very overweight, I would say, and didn't have energy, had a little bit of depression, just never wanted to do anything. And I kind of knew that um, things weren't going good and that um, I was starting to get the feeling that maybe I wouldn't be around for certain things because of my health, right? That it would deteriorate enough that something would happen and I would die. So like I would miss like my kids graduating or getting married, grandchildren, stuff like that. Having the ability at some point to retire and my wife and I going and being able to do what we want, going on lots of trips and stuff like that, right? So that was kind of my motivation to get healthy. And um, I first, I started looking at things and I was like, I've heard of people that are doing keto and it works really well for them. So I started looking at that and I'm like, that's what I'm gonna try and do. But at the same time, I was continuing to do research and I was looking at Dr. Ken Berry's videos, Dr. Sean Baker and so forth. Bart K, I've always been a fan of watching his videos. And more I was thinking to myself, carnivore is really the way to go. I believe that this is the proper human diet and that carbs are really a problem, even for somebody that doesn't notice it. Eventually, it's going to catch up to them. So I decided that carnivore was the way I had to go. So that's why I ended up going full to the carnivore lifestyle. And my life has just changed a lot because I don't anymore feel like I'm going to miss out on those life events with my family and so forth because I just feel so much healthier now.
Mm, nice.
Oh, and I've been for the second part of that, how long I've been doing carnivore for 13 months, and I was keto before that for about 2 to 2.5 months, somewhere in there.
Mm. It's interesting. This might just be my bias, but I feel like there's a disproportionate number of carnivore YouTubers that started about 12 to 14 months ago. Like there's
Yeah.
me, there's yourself, there's Amanda from Carnivorous Me. They're just like there's a lot of people that seem to have started around that time. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just coincidence, but
There
yeah.
is. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a question from Levita. Carnivore is expensive in Japan. So Levita from Niigata. Carnivore is expensive in Japan. Ground beef is non-existent. Not much variety in the grocery store. Any tips? I live in the mountains and can't get out much. Um, okay. So I what options do you have? Do you have any options like to do a bulk order like with a Costco or something like that? I'm not sure what the situation is up there. Um, how do you feel about getting out into the mountains and capturing your own inoshishi? That's wild boar. There's a lot of wild boar in Japan. Obviously, I'm joking, but um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how you can handle that from there other than doing a bulk order. Could you I know this is not cheap, but there's a guy I think he's in Nagoya, the meat guy. Maybe you could order from the meat guy, but yeah, I'm pretty sure the prices are going to be a bit higher, but you might be able to if you might be able to do a deal with him just on something simple like ground beef or something. I would maybe check out the meat guy. And the meat guy, I think, is a foreigner. So like you could probably have a have a conversation. We actually get into a negotiation with him rather than what would happen with a normal Japanese establishment. So I would maybe give that a try, Levita. I'm sorry I can't be of any more help um, with regard to that because, to be honest, I haven't even visited Niigata. That's on my bucket list at some point. But um, yeah, please, but do let me know how you get on with that. And Vivier, I hope I'm pronouncing. I might be butchering that. Sorry. Question: why may I put on weight with carnivore? I do carnivore to improve my health. Think it's not muscle. 11 days of carnivore. Brian, you wanna give your thoughts on this one first?
Yeah. It's a little hard without knowing the backstory here. So, so this might not fit this person, but some people come to carnivore from doing vegan, let's just say. I've seen that happen, right? Um, and they're a bit deficient in certain nutrients, and they actually might need to put on some weight. So there could be things like that. Um, but it could be something else. One of the first questions I would ask is in your carnivore diet is does that include dairy? Because dairy could cause some issues there if you're doing a lot of cheese and so forth. And then the other thing is, um, what kind of water are you drinking? Are you just drinking plain water or are you doing like sparkling waters, flavored waters? Because I was pretty strong in using certain waters that I thought was pretty good for me. They say zero sugar, um, and the ingredients would show that they had something in there that was, the fake sugar or whatever. But I figured, oh, there can't be that much in it. But once I, cut that stuff out, my weight loss went a lot quicker. So there might be something like that that you don't realize is really affecting your diet, and it could be that. But again, it's hard to say because we don't know where you're coming from coming into the diet, what, if you have any deficiencies and so forth.
Hmm. Yeah, good. So I agree with what Brian said. Like we first, yeah, we don't know everything that's going on with you, but second, yeah, it could be something like a sweetener or an artificial sweetener or something like that. But I would also say 11 days in, I wouldn't be worrying too much about putting weight on 11 days in. So your body is going to prioritize, how it fixes itself and how it gets itself to a level of homeostasis. Um, and that might be that you have other things that your body needs to prioritize correcting before um, it worries about getting you to the correct weight. And as far as I'm aware, I think Kelly Hogan put on a lot of weight at first when she went on a carnivore diet.
Mm.
Because I think she had a lot of other issues in her body that her body probably needed to prioritize correcting before the weight loss happened. So I would just stick to the path. Don't get discouraged. Um, and I mean, from all the people I've interviewed and spoken to, and for me myself, the overwhelming feeling is that even if you took the weight loss out of it, they would still do carnivore because weight loss is just a bonus. Um, like it's everything else that improves for you that is really the prize. It's the no longer having arthritis, no longer having the back pain, whatever it happens to be, no longer having the depression. So yeah, I would just stick with it. It'll happen for you. Your body knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rick Rick is talking about Pop Tarts attacking. And what else we got? We got Jane Norton. Australian grocery prices are currently out of control, but I spend the same amount buying eggs, bacon, and meat as I would have on a trolley of fruit and veggies, plus all of the junk and alcohol. Yeah, that's a really good point. And the one of the things about the eggs, the bacon, and the meat is you probably rarely have a situation where you're throwing them out because they've gone bad. But with your vegetables, you'll buy this whole fridge load of vegetables, and half of them end up going in the bin because they're brown before you can use them. Yeah, how are prices in the States? Um, where are you again, Brian?
So I'm
You're
I'm
in
in
Virginia.
Virginia. I'm in Virginia, so yeah, I'm on the East Coast. Um, Prices are up there, I guess, a bit. But there are things that you can do that are cheaper. Eggs and ground beef are cheap, considering. I mean, ground beef has gone up quite a bit over the last few years, but it's still fairly cheap. I ate the one day I ate a meal, I think I had 6 eggs and a pound of ground beef, and that was like less than $5 for that meal. And that was what I ate for that day.
Hmm.
Um, and then there's like chicken and stuff that you can get that's pretty cheap. The other thing, though, really that I think should be mentioned about the difference with carnivore is after you've been on it for a few months, you start to realize that some of the medications you were taking, you don't need anymore. So now you're not paying for those medications. And that's another price point to consider with carnivore.
Hmm. That's a really good point. You know, the reduced doctor's visits and things like that as well is probably a big thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. This is actually something I was thinking about yesterday. How um how often have you been sick since you've been on carnivore? Like, have you had colds and stuff like that?
So I like I think I mentioned this already, but I more recently did have a sinus infection that went into bronchitis.
Mm,
Um that was interesting. My wife was sick a few days before we started our vacation, and then early on in the vacation, other people in the family got sick. I didn't get sick. I got sick about a day or two after I had the alcohol. So that's where I kind of put that. I think that really messed with my immune system and stuff, and it started a bit of the sinus thing, and I think that's how I got sick. My wife is still kind of battling a few weeks later after effects of that, and I was sick for like 3 or 4 days, and that was it.
mm,
So my sickness went very quickly where other people still have the cough and so forth from the sickness. The other time that I can remember being sick since carnivore was in January of 2023, and that was COVID.
mm,
It was the second time I had COVID. The first time I had it was before carnivore, and I was very sick. I actually went to the ER, and I was dehydrated, and they had to put an IV on me, and they were watching my heart rate was really high and stuff like that. And then I was pretty sick for a good week or so, and then I had a cough that just went on for weeks after that. This time in January of 2023, after being carnivore for about 6 months, I only knew that I had COVID because other people in the family were pretty sick and had COVID. And I had some sniffles, maybe a little bit of a cough. So I tested, and I tested positive for COVID. But I only had it for a couple of days that I had any type of symptoms, and it was gone. Those are the only times I've been sick in the last 13 months with carnivore.
that's really interesting that you say that about the second time on COVID. So the only time I've been sick in the last 14 months has been when I had COVID a year ago. It was August last year, and we all had it at the same time. I guess my daughter brought it in from school, but we
Mm,
don't know. But we all got it at the same time. It was just like dominoes. So there was my wife, my daughter, myself, and they had fevers and they were really kind of feeling bad. And for me, no fever, no nothing. Felt fine. It was clear in a couple of days. The only thing that lasted for any length of time is I lost my voice.
mm.
But other than that, didn't feel any pain, nothing at all. So I don't know that it feels like nutritionally it's important to
Yeah. And I
it's
think
important to
with
maintain that.
with doing carnivore, my immune system has been tremendous compared to where it used to be. I used to have a really bad immune system, and I would get sick a lot. And I think it's funny because with COVID, they say, well, some people get sick and some people don't get that sick. Well, I think it's just dependent on how good your immune system is
Mhm.
and your health. Because, the first time I wasn't very healthy, my immune system wasn't very good, and I got really sick. The second time, I have been doing great with COVID, and if other people didn't have it, I would have even tested for it because I just thought, okay, I got a few sniffles, cold, a little bit of a cough, and that's it.
Mm.
So I really think you know, it's kind of like what they say that COVID is more of a um, unhealthy person's sickness. I think that's pretty accurate. The healthier you are, the better your immune system is. It's with
Mm.
any type of sickness. I think you don't get sick as often, and when you do, it's not that long. It's not that bad.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So we got a super chat here from Judy, who is asking, I'm on day 21 and just now struggling about having something sweet. I do eat until full. Any suggestions? What are your thoughts, Brian?
Well, some people do struggle with the cravings, especially sweet cravings, longer than other people. Some people within a couple weeks, they're they're good. They don't have the cravings anymore. Other people, it takes longer. And then there's people like me where if you reintroduce it by mistake, then you've got that cycle going again. So I think that it's not necessarily uncommon that you're at 3 weeks in and you're still struggling with it. Um, the best advice I can give, because what I experience at least, is that when I do have that cravings, my best bet is to find some sort of meat to eat. And this happened to me more recently where I it, I had ate already earlier in the day and I started to have a craving for something that I shouldn't, whatever. I went and I cooked up a bunch of bacon and I ate bacon. I felt full from that and then I was good. Now, from reading that question, she says she eats until she's full. So the question becomes, is she still full and she has that craving? And if that's the case, then it's probably just because you're so new and it's going to take a while for those cravings to get better. The other thing would be you might be feeding that craving without knowing it. Um, Meaning you might be drinking some water or something that has some artificial sweetener in it, or you might be having some dairy that might be causing it. You know, some people they they do get cravings when they have dairy, and maybe even butter. Maybe you're having a little bit too much butter or something like that with with the food that you're cooking. So try and have more animal fat if you can, which things like ribeye probably help there. Uh, Maybe some other type of roast that's a higher fat content, that kind of thing. Um, that would be what I would go with. Sometimes you don't realize that there's some artificial sugar in something that you're eating that might be kind of keeping those cravings going.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. And like any kind of sweetener, any artificial sweetener, anything at all, it's going to impact your blood sugar. So as soon as that's any that sweetness gets on your tongue, and this could be something in dairy as well. I'm not 100% sure, but as soon as that kind of the sweetness gets on your tongue, your body's going to react to it. I think it's called the cephalic response, but don't quote me on that. Um, and your body's going to have a reaction to it, raise your blood sugar, and that's going to cause you to feel like you're depleted and need more sugar. Um, the other thing I would say, though, just from my experience, is this early in 3 weeks in, I would on top of the advice that Brian's already given, I would say keep yourself as busy as possible. Don't allow yourself to be doing anything that's kind of a bit too idle. Like often just sitting in front of the TV or something like that, that can be they can be really dangerous because a TV commercial will flash on or something like that, and we're hardwired to kind of react to those images, or you could just be it could just be boredom or something. So I would get up and walk as much as you can, try and do as much. I would say walking is one of the best things you could do because walking clears your mind and allows you to be a lot more kind of to step back and actually um, look at things much more objectively. I think so. You'll be able to kind of look at those cravings a little bit more and think, if I have that, that's great, but how am I going to feel tomorrow? you know,
Yeah.
and just focus on getting through today. Don't focus on what's on happening in the future. Don't focus on how am I going to do this for another month? How am I going to do this for another year? Don't do it. Focus on any of that. Just focus on getting to bed that night without eating any sugar or anything containing sugar, without eating any carbohydrate. Focus on just getting to bed that night. And then, the morning when you wake up, you're going to feel so much better because the motivation you're going to have, because the first thing you'll think about is, I got through yesterday without doing the sugar. I got through yesterday without the carbs. That motivation builds over time. So also, I would think about it like that. Sorry about my long-winded answers.
That's an
So let me
excellent
just look.
point, though, Dave. I just want to reinforce what you said about the not sitting there and doing nothing or just watching TV, because the 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 marketers that come up with these commercials, they are paid to try and figure out how to get you to want to eat their food. They spend millions and millions of dollars figuring that out. So the more that you're watching those commercials, especially when you're brand new to this and trying to get rid of sugar and carb addictions, it's just going to feed into it and it's going to make those cravings worse. So that's a great, excellent point that you made there.
Cheers. And just a follow up to a previous thing we were talking about, Lambs is saying, what's the point of checking ketones if all you eat is meat and eggs? There's not much more you can do. Good point. If your ketones are not where you want them to be and all you're eating is meat and eggs, there's not much you can do about it anyway. So yeah. Okay. Megatron Man. I'd like to see your superhero suit, Megatron Man. Do you calculate your protein and fat percentages for your meals? I've heard it should be 1-to-1 ratio and also 2-to-1 protein fats. Brian, do you calculate?
I do not. I do not calculate. I don't calculate any of those percentages. I don't try and count calories or anything. Basically, I eat until I feel full, and then I don't eat again until I'm hungry. Unless I'm at that point, like I've talked about here a little bit, that I have a craving, then I'm gonna try and eat some kind of meat to try and get rid of that craving. Even though I might not be like fully hungry, right? But typically, I just eat whatever it takes to get full and don't eat again until I get hungry. Sometimes that means that I'm eating just one meal a day. Sometimes it means I'm eating 2 meals a day. Um, but I don't calculate anything. I like to eat steak, ribeye, especially. So that has a pretty good fat content. And I do use butter when I'm cooking eggs or something like that. So I'm adding the fat in there. So I think I do a pretty good job, but I don't calculate it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't calculate anything. I basically, the way I treat food now is eat to feel full, so that to feel full and be nourished, so that I don't have to eat again, or so that I don't feel hungry. And the thing for me that makes me feel I'm doing it right, even though I'm not measuring anything, is that I can go 23 hours and not be hungry at all, ever. And, if I do get hungry in that 23-hour period, if it gets to 11 o'clock at night, although it's a weird time to be eating, but if it gets to 11 o'clock at night and I did feel hungry, I would just cook something up. I'd make myself, a small amount of ground beef or an egg or something, or, that kind of thing, and eat until I was satiated and then go to bed. I think I'm very skeptical about things like when we talk about ratios and stuff like that, because um, when we talk about ratios, what that does is it opens the door for a coach to come in, or an app to come in or something like that. And basically, anything that requires measurement or management opens up a third party where you're going to have to pay money to someone to help you measure whatever it is, or to help you stay on track, or whatever it happens to be. And I mean, some people need that, and it's important for some people, but I'm very skeptical about needing to measure stuff like that. No other species needs to. So I also look at it like that, like a lion
Yep.
doesn't worry about, hang on, did I have enough? Did I put enough leaves on top of that before I ate it, or um anyway, again, taking way too long to answer these questions. We're gonna get so behind on this.
I know. That's
Um,
okay.
so, oh, Nicole. Hey, Nicole, how you doing? How do you get in those antioxidants without eating blueberries? Ah, yes, that's a good question. Um, and then I think Aid answered that a little bit. I know that's tongue in cheek, Nicole, but I think Aid probably put the simplest answer to that question there that people may be asking is, um, big food sells you the oxidative foods, and then sells you the antioxidant foods profit. Yeah, it's all, yeah. Whenever I hear about antioxidants as well, you know who I always think of? The person's face that comes to my mind?
Hmm.
Oprah Winfrey. Because I remember, I haven't seen Oprah recently, but I remember, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, like every episode seemed to be like this episode talking about this new superfood or this new antioxidant treatment or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, I kind of like Oprah, but I think she's also got a lot to answer for. Some of the segments that she had on her show. Yeah. Um, all right. Questions. Have we got any questions? Yep, I was joking. Yes. Yep. And I'm coming in the middle of a conversation if I bring that one up. Okay. All right. Nothing. No more. Can you see any more that I've missed?
I don't know that
Yeah.
there's a lot of chat going on. So if we missed your question, if you could repost it with a
Yeah.
Q in front, just so that we make sure that we see it. It's hard
My
because there is a lot of chat going on.
yeah. Yeah, and it's funny. Our bodies make antioxidants from food and stores them for 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, Mike, what is your favorite cooking fat? Oh, what do you cook in, Brian, or what do you like to cook in?
It's usually butter or bacon grease. Um, I keep bacon grease on hand, and I'll do eggs in the bacon grease, but I'll also use butter. I use butter like if well, not necessarily for cooking, but like after I cook the steak, I will usually top it with some butter. Um, but yeah, I'd say it's usually either butter or bacon grease that I use.
Mm. For me, my preference is beef tallow. Um, Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get that. Although Dean, who I think is still in the chat, he sent me a message the other day showing me where I can get some beef tallow on Amazon. So I'm going to order some of that. But right at the moment, I'm cooking in lard. But I feel like lard has a little bit of a funny taste. And so I'd much prefer to be cooking in beef tallow. So Adam is down 62 pounds in 4 months. Nice work, Adam.
Great
Awesome.
job.
Good job. Nice. Okay, and I had another start. It's gone.
I
Okay.
saw a question somewhere come in there.
Yeah. This is it. This one, right? From Ian. Do you believe the physical benefits or the mental benefits are the most noticeable? The mental benefits alone would give me enough to try this diet.
Hmm.
What's your feeling on that one, Ryan?
Well, I've seen both. Talking about the mental benefits, I didn't have really bad depression, but I did have a little bit of depression. But I also wasn't a very happy person, and I would say that I probably would get angry quickly and yell about things, um, and just never really wanted to do anything, right? And I don't know exactly what point it changed on carnivore, but at some point I looked back and I said, you know, I'm a much happier person. I don't get upset and angry like I used to, and um, the depression definitely wasn't there anymore. And the other thing was like I would get done working and I'd go talk to my wife and I'd be like, "Well, let's go do something." And she'd be like, "Really? You never want to do anything, you know?" So all of those things really improved quite a bit. Now, again, I didn't have really bad depression. I know some people that have had really, really bad depression and they've gone to carnivore. Um, Intentional carnivore Sean White is a perfect example. He improved his, he doesn't have depression anymore. And like he was really bad with it. We've had discussions about it and it really affected him a lot. And I know there's people out there that say, you don't know what it's like when you have depression. And I just had a little bit, so I probably don't know what it's like. I can agree with that. I don't know what it's like. But don't feel like you're stuck with it because there's so many people out there that you talk to that have gone carnivore that their symptoms are either very minimal now or they're completely gone. So don't feel like you're stuck with that. The mental is a huge thing. Yeah, there's physical benefits too, like I talked about with my arthritis and so forth, and that's gone. And I talked about that trip that I went on in Tennessee a few weeks ago. I did more hikes in that trip than I've done in 20, 25 years. Um, so the physical benefit is definitely there too. So that it's pretty equal for both, I think. But somebody that has a lot of mental health problems, whether it's depression or whatever, the way that you can feel so much better with this diet, I think that probably trumps anything because it's a serious problem. And when it's really bad for you, um, like my son has, very bad depression issues. I've tried to get him to do carnivore. He's tried it once for a little bit, but it's tough because he doesn't really want to do carnivore at this point. Doesn't think that he can do it. And I really struggle with that because I know so many people have fixed their depression issues, and I just want to see him give it a try because I think it will help him with that. And from what I've seen talking to people, it's just amazing the turnaround that you can have.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts there are between physical and mental, but that's at least
Um,
what I think.
so by cursory examination, just a cursory examination, it feels when I'm talking about stuff that I think the physical benefits are the most noticeable. But I think it's because those are the most measurable. It's easier to measure, do I have arthritis versus do I not have arthritis, compared to am I thinking more clearly or am I happier or am I less depressed or whatever it happens to be. Um So yeah, the physical benefits appear at a cursory level to be the bigger thing, but I do actually think that the mental benefits are a bigger thing. Like with all the physical improvements, I still don't think I would be feeling as good as I do if I, hadn't been able to get better sleep, better mood, better, kind of relief from the anxiety. Um, just that clearer thinking, that ability to look at things more objectively, and those kind of things. If I hadn't had those kind of things, I don't think the physical benefits would have added up to as much. So I think mental benefits definitely number one.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, okay, so we've had a few more questions come through.
Yeah, I know we did.
Okay.
Wow.
So Brooke says, have you heard of anyone recovering from iron retention being on carnivore, given carnivores eat loads of red meat? I haven't heard of anyone.
Yeah, I
Just
haven't either.
sharing, yeah, just sharing my own experience. I'm actually anemic. And that's I think that's mainly to do with the anti coagulation drugs that I take, um, and eating so much red meat hasn't helped with that, obviously, because the anticoagulation drugs are fighting against anything that I'm putting into my body. So I don't know. Regarding iron, are your iron levels okay, Brian?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I haven't had any issues in my blood work. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm really not sure on this question, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Um, all right.
I did see a question we might have missed up a little bit.
Question. Could you
Oh,
check
there you
for
go.
unmarked questions?
So a couple up, yep, there's one, and then there's another one before,
Ah,
like
cool.
two before that too. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I think I have got them marked because I've got about
Okay.
3 or 4 under here.
Good.
So Chad's asking, do you ever dry brine your steaks? Like salt in a fridge for 24 hours? If not, oh, try it. Um, I don't have the preparation space in Japan, like the cooking space to even make a steak, so I haven't tried it. How about you, Brian?
Yeah. So I did a live stream with a few other people the other night, and my answer then was I've never gone more than like an hour. But Chad asked this question in that live stream. So yesterday, I did this for my steak that I was going to cook today. And it was a good 24 hours, salted it up nicely, and then put it in the fridge. Um, and so this is the first time, it's a ribeye. It was the first time I have had a ribeye in about a week because I've been eating a lot of ground beef and eggs. But so I'm not really sure if it's because it's been a week or if it's just the whole brine thing. But I'm telling you, it was excellent. It tasted so good.
Oh, nice.
So thanks for the tip, Chad.
And on the topic of preparation of steaks, I don't have an answer for this one. Maybe Brian, what are your thoughts on using charcoal for grilling meat?
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue. I think they're talking about like some people have said that, the this the grilling of your food can be bad for it. I don't think it's an issue when you're looking at just the little bit of time that you're actually grilling your meat for. Um, Personally, I use a pellet grill, so I don't use charcoal, but it's still kind of the same thing. Like, right, you're getting it's getting very smoky and so forth. Um, but it's a little bit different, I guess, than charcoal. But still, I don't personally think that's a problem. I like to do my steaks and burgers on the grill. I do pork, chicken, whatever I'll do out there on the grill. I do that a lot. So I personally don't think it's an issue.
Mm, okay. Thank you. And from 8, who doesn't get better on carnivore? What chronic ailment cannot be fixed or improved on carnivore? That's a good question. That probably there isn't an answer to. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
if any one of my friends came to me and said, "I'm suffering from this problem," I would. I can't think of a case where I wouldn't say, "Why don't you give carnivore a try, or at least go to keto or something?"
Yeah. I mean, there's people out there that try carnivore and they say it didn't work for me. A lot of times they didn't give it enough time. They tried it for like 2 weeks or something, right?
Mm,
My son did that. He tried it for like 2 weeks and he's like, "I can't do it." You didn't give yourself enough time. What
mm,
I say really is try carnivore for 30 to 60 days. I I am not aware of anybody that has done carnivore for the 30 to 60 days and has not either continued to do carnivore, or somebody like Joe Rogan that says it was great, I felt great. Then he goes back to where he adds some vegetables in, and then eventually he goes back to more carnivore again, right? But I haven't heard of anybody that has done it for that good 30 to 60-day period and say it didn't help me. That doesn't
mm,
mean that there's nobody out there that has had that experience. I just have not seen anybody say that's been the case. Usually when they say I tried carnivore and it didn't work out, it was because they only tried it for like a week or two.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've seen as well. The people as didn't work. It's all garbage. Is yeah, the people that have tried it, thinking it's like a low calorie diet or something, the same kind of thing, you know. All right. So Ian's just got a follow up. So far, your previous self that you're describing describes me to a T. I do have very bad depression, and this advice is huge for me. Thank you so much, both of you. God bless. Oh, thank you, Ian. I just got rid of a question there. Hang on. Rick says, is there anyone else who does not like grilled meats as much as stew, roasted, or boiled? Yep. I like the grilled meats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to
Um,
I like to grill my steaks and burgers as much, as often as I can. That's the way I do it.
hmm. Okay. I lost a question. I'm sorry if I lost a question. Here we go from Dean. Dave, has any Japanese people asked you for help to start carnivore? Um, no. They've all kind of looked at me like, you're a bit weird, but we'll give you a pass because you're a foreigner, so that's to be expected. Um, yeah, no one's asked me for help. I did have someone reach out to me on Twitter that lives in Kobe, and she was like, I follow you. Let's try and get together and do something to maybe make people in Japan more aware of this. And I contacted her, but I haven't heard back. So I actually need to follow up with her. But yeah, not really. Okay. No, we've got a comment. Chad's talking about Ansel Keys here. Ansel Keys would have said it did not work, then cashed his sugar check and laughed as he ate the steak. Yes, he would have. Yeah. And actually, speaking of Ansel Keys, I was watching a video this morning that I recommend that if you haven't checked out, you should. It's a video on Kent Carnivore's channel, and it's a video with several doctors and nutritionists all talking about why Ansel Keys and people like Ansel Keys were wrong. And it's just a really good watch. It's nice. It's about 20 minutes, but it's a really easy watch. Yeah. So if you haven't checked that out already, go over to Kent Carnivore. And yeah, Andy's saying Kent Carnivore does great video editing. He does indeed. Okay. Yeah. And Dean's following up on my comment saying, my sister-in-law said it's okay for guardians. Yeah. So my boss said the same thing to me. She's like, oh, I wanted to try it, but that's just doesn't work for a Japanese body. So, she's she's given it up. Okay. And Nicole says, I did an interview with Kent Carnivore that premiered today. You should check it out. Yes, and okay, yeah. So check out Kent Carnivore's interview on Nicole's channel as well. So, um,
So there was
Brian,
did you see there was a
did you
question going back, um, Adam, at like
Adam
7:58 PM, did you see that one?
7:58 p.m. So that'd be 8:58 a.m. for me. Hang on one
Yeah,
second.
sorry.
I'll find. No, that's fine. 58, 58. Adam. What? This one?
There we go, yep.
No,
Yep.
okay. So Adam's asking, what's better for losing weight, running every day or strength training? What do you think, Brian?
Without a doubt, it's strength training. Um, and and I'm not sure really if exercise is even needed for losing weight, but strength training is much better for your body than running. And again, this kind of goes back to my Bart K influence here. But there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you, the strength training is huge for your muscles, your bones, and don't forget your heart is a muscle. So any kind of strength training, or if you're using running for more of a high intensity interval type, so like you do some sprints, then rest and do some sprints, um, those kinds of things are better for you. And I think overall probably help to a little extent with the weight loss, than just like running long distance type of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And I think the evidence is pretty much in about that. Like how many miles of running have been done by the world population since the early 80s, and things are not getting any better. So yeah, I would say strength training as well. Okay, so we've got a couple more questions here. First one from Mike. Are people in Japan relatively healthy as compared to the Western world? I think as compared to the Western world, yeah. But I think what I read about and what I've been noticing is that Japan, I think, suffers from the same kind of issues that other parts of Asia suffer from, and that's that the population stays pretty healthy. But once they start getting older, once they're like in their 70s and 80s, the diabetes seems to come on pretty big time. The type 2 diabetes seems to come on pretty fast. So I think it's what I was reading. It gave the impression, I didn't really say it outright, but it gave the impression that the years of the diet, the body can tolerate a kind of a Japanese diet for years, but eventually you're still overloading on carbohydrate, and so it's still going to take a toll at some point. So yeah, that was, and I can't remember where I read it. I'll have to have a look for that article because it would make a good video. Okay, Karma person, what is daily fat and protein intake for female 150 pounds who only walks approximately 10,000 steps daily, not a big gym person at this point? I'm just going to put it out there, even as my even as my blue-wigged alter ego, I don't think I have any idea what the fat and protein intake is for a female, let alone what the fat and protein intake is for a male. Do you have any any knowledge of that, Brian?
No, like I said before, I eat until I'm full,
Mm,
and I would think that 150-pound female probably doesn't need to eat as much to get full as I do because I'm a pretty big guy.
mm,
Um, yeah, I've lost 75 pounds, but I still have a lot more weight to lose. I think, at least fat, I should say. I have a lot more body fat to lose. So, um, I would just say, eat until you're full. And the whole thing about only walks approximately 10,000 steps, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good amount, 10,000 steps a day.
mm. Yeah, I other than what we already talked about regarding the intuitive eating and stuff, I really haven't got anything either. So, um, Dean is Dean is just following up. Also, the young in Japan are getting fatter by the year. Yeah, it's. I also feel regarding, like, say, Japan versus the West. Japan's always about 20 to 30 years behind what you would see in America or Australia. You know, and so it's only a matter of time, unless something massive changes globally. Um, all right, so Brian, I'm gonna have to head off soon because I'm gonna have to get to my day job with my boss telling me how she can't do the carnivore diet. So yeah, thank you for joining me
Yeah,
today,
thanks for having
Brian.
me on. It's been great.
And thank you to everyone that came in, all your questions, all the likes and the comments. And I could see the conversation flashing before me, and it looked like everyone had a good conversation as well. So it's great to have everyone on, and we should, Brian, we should definitely do this again.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah,
been
and
great. And there's been a lot of, a lot of questions and a lot of chat and so forth. So definitely a lot of people were getting a lot out of this. So
yeah. And good luck this weekend with your busy weekend, the busy move.
yeah, I'll probably do a video with either how well I did or how bad I struggled with my diet, right?
Yeah. Have a good one
All
and see you soon.
right. Bye,
Cheers.
everybody. Thanks, Dave.